The UN Human Rights High Commissioner said yesterday that he would produce the report on Wednesday, that is tomorrow. Now, would you just brief on it?
Yes, indeed. The report of the UN investigation into the period in Sri Lanka between 2002 and 2011 will be released tomorrow in Geneva. There will be a launch and a press conference by the High Commissioner there, and I am here in Colombo to inform the public here about the findings of that report and the recommendations for the way forward.
Well, Ravina, you said that your mission is to basically give the findings and the recommendations of the report. If you could just, I know that the report is coming tomorrow, if you could just brief us an outline as to what would be the salient features of the report.
Well, I can't get into too many details, but what I can say is that the findings are of a very serious nature, and there will be the mandate that we were given was to look into the allegations of serious violations of human rights law between 2002 and 2011. Now this will go into the war itself, the final stages of the war, which are really the most difficult phases that we've had, and then the post-war period as well. So the report will contain factual findings, it will contain legal analysis, and it will also contain recommendations for the way forward, because part of our mandate from the UN Human Rights Council was to continue to monitor the situation in Sri Lanka and to keep an eye on the developments, particularly with regard to accountability and justice.
So you also said that there will be recommendations. Now, I know that at this point of hour that you may not be able to divulge any recommendations for us, but for the general public, that the report, we know that anyway it is going to come tomorrow, and we'll have to face anyway, and we will anyway get to know the recommendations. But but having said that, in terms of recommendations, what kind of seriousness that recommendations would basically contain?
Well, the recommendations will be of a very comprehensive nature, because as the High Commissioner has said, since the change of government, we've seen very encouraging signs in Sri Lanka. The change that needs to come, however, is quite a broad and quite a deep-rooted one, and so the recommendations will go some way to address how these changes can be brought forward in the country.
As you said, now there's a new government at present. That government came into office after 8th of January. Now, ever since then, has your office perhaps diluted the recommendations after seeing the work done by the new government, or those recommendations were the same as previously?
Well, the recommendations are based on the findings of the report. We've done, fact-finding, we have done legal analysis of that, and on the basis of that, the High Commissioner has come out with recommendations on what he finds will be the most constructive and the most effective way forward for Sri Lanka.
Well, in terms of the findings and the fact-finding mission, I know that the Sri Lankan government did not allow the UN team to come into Sri Lanka to do any investigation. Perhaps you all may have done from elsewhere. And for the general common man in this country to know as to what was the methodology of getting the facts and making the report. What was your methodology? Because since the High Commissioner's office was not allowed to come in, and how did you all do that finding without the presence of the Sri Lankan, perhaps the government and of the people and the public?
Yeah, no, the methodology and everything will be laid out very, very clearly in the report that comes out tomorrow. It's all very transparent in the way that the investigations were conducted. So I urge you to wait until tomorrow and to read the report carefully. And I'm ready. I'm in Colombo. I'm ready here to answer any questions that you may have beyond that.
I think on the 30th only the council will know the report, and I think that is the tomorrow's report will only be released to Sri Lankan delegation.
No. Tomorrow the report will be released publicly. So it will be available on the website of the UN Human Rights Office, which is ohchr.org. It will be released to the press and to the public. Now the council session, the Human Rights Council session, where the Human Rights Council, which is an intergovernmental body, will be discussing Sri Lanka, that will be on the 30th of September.
Just to ask one question, now the United States of America, the country that brought actually 3 resolutions, said very recently, even yesterday, that it will basically partake with Sri Lanka and bring a fresh resolution favouring the country, depending on the results, the progress that the country has shown during the last few months. Now, with that backdrop, how would this recommendation would basically be interpreted in the council, because the Sri Lankan government and also the United States of America has agreed for a domestic inquiry, and if these recommendations, if does go beyond a domestic inquiry, don't you think that will clash the aspirations of both the community, I mean perhaps the Sri Lankan government and the UN? Speak of your recommendation.
No, I mean, of course I cannot speak on behalf of the United States, and certainly cannot speak on behalf of an intergovernmental process that will take its course in the way that it does. However, this report was mandated by the Human Rights Council itself, because they recognized that the High Commissioner, it was necessary for the High Commissioner to do an investigation, a very comprehensive investigation into the serious allegations that exist during this period, and based on the findings of this investigation to make recommendations for the way forward. So it is the states who had invited us to do this investigation and to make the recommendations, and of course we certainly hope that our recommendations will be taken with all the gravitas that was attached to them when we were mandated to make them.
Finally, by when tomorrow that this report will be out for the public?
The report will be published at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Colombo time.
Yeah, will it be, since you said it's an open document, can the normal people, the common people could enter to the internet and go through the report?
Yes, absolutely. The report will be published on the OHCHR website, and it will be accessible to the public at 2 p.m. tomorrow, Colombo time.